This is More Than Construction, a Journey Group podcast about building community. Hello, and welcome back to More Than Construction. I'm your host, Nathan Walter, with my co-host, Aaron Ike. And in previous episodes, we've spent some time discussing Journey's support departments. And this is, I think, one of the last ones. We may highlight a couple here or there in the future, but for now, we're kind of wrapping up our little mini series on our support teams by looking at our lean department. Yet again, I believe this is an excellent example of how Journey provides more than construction to its partners, clients, and community, because you could probably count on one hand the number of construction companies in our entire region that have a dedicated in-house lean department. Lean is not an acronym for anything. It's simply an apt name for the team that helps people streamline the process, eliminate waste, reduce rework, make things as efficient, as lean as possible. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, good.
It doesn't have to be capitalized either.
Oh, it doesn't?
Yeah,
No, it does not.
That's kind of a pet peeve when you're into lean, is like you don't need to capitalize L-E-A-N.
That's good to know. So you don't have to capitalize lean either. It's not an acronym. Anyways, today we have joining us Jessica Boddicker, our lean manager, and Annette Doss, our continuous improvement coach. Did I get that right?
You did.
Awesome. Great. So welcome and thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
So Jessica, I got to work on the lower level with you for a period of time. We flanked Joel Van Ekeren, our safety director. So that was always an adventure, but I was always a little mystified and intrigued by your office because it was covered in colorful sticky notes and plans and documents. And so I'm just very excited to hear about the lean process. But tell us about your journey through the company, how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I started here in 2017 and I was exposed to lean. And then when I moved here, right away after I started my first management meeting here, that was what it was about. It was about the lean journey that we were going to walk down. And so I was a project manager for a couple years. And then 2019, with some gentle prodding, I took on the lean department.
Nice.
And I've been there since. Yeah. And it's been great. We've drastically increased what we've done and what we're capable of doing. And obviously we're expanding the lean department. So It's been a great experience so far.
That's fantastic. Cool. And Annette, you're the expansion of the lean department, and we're really excited to have you on the team, but you're relatively new. So tell us how you heard about Journey and some of your background.
Thank you for having me on the podcast as well today. My background is supply chain.
Yeah.
Part of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Supply chain operations and management, most recently in construction, but the considerable amount in healthcare. Those two incorporate a lot of lean type activities because it's time and deadlines that you're working up against.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we need to just start by addressing the biggest question, which is what is lean? I think it's a mystery even to people still in the company to a certain degree. Like, what does it do? What is its focus? Tell us what is lean.
You're not wrong. Most of the company is still mystified by it, if you will. We have trained.
Yeah.
There's been substantial amount of training, but it's different. It's different for everyone. And so like the high level concept, if you were going to go to Google, it's respect for people, continuous improvement. Those are two trademark pieces of lean. But then that's where it kind of diversifies. So a lot of people will associate lean and construction the same as manufacturing. And that's not to say that's not the same, but we apply it differently here. So the best way to explain it is that it's ultimately creating value for the end user by reducing wasteful behaviors. And the end user could be our customers that obviously benefit from, productive projects. Could be cross-departmental users. So that's where we start talking about how does accounting affect project management and many of the other departments we have here. And then last but not least, it could be within project teams themselves. So when they start to depend on each other for handoffs, then we have to talk about, okay, what does that handoff look like? How do we communicate that? How do we have clearly defined expectations do we have a process? And so we figure out what the waste is in a process or a situation or even a conversation. And we figure out which tool in the lean toolbox, if you will, we can use to solve that problem. So the main ones that you'll find at Journey is the loss planner system. So LPS, that encapsulates our weekly work plans, pull plans, daily huddles. We do a lot around CPM scheduling, and we've married the two, and that's different. That's unique. It's not well defined, and it's not well done outside the region or outside of here, to be honest with you. And then the last one is process mapping. So we have done quite a few process maps, and that's helped us set standards, operating procedures, things of that nature. So we use about 3 main tools around here, and then we've dabbled in 5S to help with like office supplies, storage systems like our storage downstairs, and then tool trailers. Our job trailers are 5S. So
nice.
Yeah,
cool.
We dabble in a few things, but our trademarks are loss planner married with scheduling and then our process mapping.
Yeah.
So we are a week into the new office, and I still haven't seen Jessica walk around yet trying to 5S the new side. So I'd imagine that's coming. It's probably on one of her rocks for Q2, maybe.
There you go.
I'm working with the front desk, and I'm letting them. I'll stepping back on that one.
There you go.
One thing I wanted to highlight that Jessica highlighted early on in the what is lean is the respect for people. And I think just the culture side of lean is like when we jumped into it, we too thought it was kind of a thing. And then you kind of figure out with this respect for people, it's a lot of culture push, culture change. Like you want people involved. You want the decision makers to be the people doing the work, So that really pushes how lean is successful or not through projects, through the office, whatever it is
Definitely.
Really getting the right people involved and hearing everybody's opinion and working through things together as a team.
Yep. You can streamline a process all you want, but at the end of the day, there's people that are doing the process. So they've got to be on board and excited about it. And yeah, that's great. So you talked about these 3 tools that you utilize. Let's dig into those a little more. How do those each work day to day?
Sure. So Loss Planner, when we kick off any of our projects, it's an expectation that we are going to utilize it. Right off the bat, that means that you're already scheduling your weekly work planners. You have daily huddles set. Teams have discretion on when they decide to do daily huddles. And then we have standards around them. We always expect the 80-20 rule, like we can't establish that every project is going to be the same. We have many variables. So those are continuous items. Weekly work planners essentially plan the following week's worth of work this week.
Yep.
And we use our schedule to help drive that. We use that to develop our 6-week look ahead. There's many pieces to that, but as a whole, that's the expectation. Pull plans are the flashy part, if you will. They are 3 to 4 hour meetings used to drive behavior around a specific scope of work. So whether that's ready for paint, ready for punch, that's how we utilize them. We've recently started doing like site work, ready for structure, things of that nature. So we use those pretty frequently, but it's up to the team to decide if it's a scope worth pulling.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And then process mapping,
With process mapping, we can pull the team together, and we want everybody involved that's impacted by the activity that we want to improve. And it's not to look for fault or blame in any kind of a process. What we're trying to do with process mapping is improvement, small incremental change that can help the process along. So we'll get those teams in. They'll have some work to do ahead of time to document how they're thinking that the process is going. We want them to bring those thoughts in an open environment, and then we'll start prodding their thinking is like, what's next to them, give them an opportunity to think, well, yep, that's exactly how it goes, or no, we missed a step here. And so then it creates buy-in with the team. They all feel like they're involved in the process. They're given an opportunity to speak and to participate in what that process looks like going forward. Then the results we're looking for, like I started, was small incremental changes that impact and provide opportunity for those to grow.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes when you go through those too, you see people like that don't even realize there's parts to the process that are there
Yes.
that other people see as a part, and then they didn't see as a part. So it really opens up people's eyes to see like, oh, I didn't know that was part of this thing, Been doing that for 10 years and didn't know that.
Yeah, we just went through one with the team, and there was a group that said, we didn't know that was all involved before we get to our part of the process.
Yeah. Wow.
Like that, again, if you bring that back to the respect for people part, sometimes our teams can be blind to what each other's doing. Yeah. And so by bringing those two entities together, they can really go, oh. And so that drives more respect, maybe some cross communication that didn't exist before, some education. Yeah. And that makes all the difference. Yeah. That is how you change culture.
Yeah, definitely.
And improve the communication even within the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, for sure. So how have you guys seen Lean's impact tangibly at Journey?
From the field perspective, where we made a big push in Lean was the last planner system. And that has basically given us, methods to scheduling, whether it be the pull plans and how you do your weekly work plans, the daily huddles, how you communicate with your subcontractor team to have those conversations. So I would say, from the field aspect is just more predictable schedules.
Yeah.
And then having the buy-in from our trade partners with those schedules.
We were in a pull plan maybe a week or so ago, and we've had subs and vendors tell us that they prefer to be on our jobs because there is a certain level of pre-planning that obviously leads to better safety. And so there's a preference to work with us. Yeah. And then in that, they've been more profitable too. So we're trying to be transparent.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have contractual obligations, but at the same time, we don't want to be the GC that's just handing down orders constantly and being command and control. We want to be the GC that's bringing our subs in and saying, please help us do this better.
Yeah.
And so we've really heard some great feedback over the last, at least the last couple months.
Yep. And the collaboration that happens amongst even the trade partners between themselves and working on the schedule has been amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always thought too, like one of the big things of the pull plans is pulling out constraints from all the trade partners, because a lot of times they have these constraints that they keep to themselves and you don't know about it. And they tell you about a week before it becomes a real bad constraint, and then it's a firefight.
Yeah.
So trying to pull those out, during that meeting, like what do you have that's holding up? Is there a submittal? Whatever it is. And then really like when they go to do their work, like what their expectation is of the work done in front of them.
Yep.
So, okay, what does that look like to you for you to start?
Yeah.
Like what do you, that seems easy, but then people start saying things you didn't really realize. Okay, let's have that done. There's different, construction, you can modify how you schedule things 1,000 different ways with parade of trades and whatnot. So then you kind of talk through like what's efficient for everyone.
Yep.
And you're going to have to make a call too. Like, okay, that's maybe less efficient for him, but for the other 20, like that's more efficient. So you got to help them understand of why you may schedule things and what chronological order you do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's called optimizing the whole versus parts.
Yep.
And sometimes, when you're in those meetings and they're all like, this is our planning meeting and this is supposed to be efficient. It's like, but that's not efficient for everybody.
Yeah.
So we need you to think of the whole versus piece and parts.
Yep.
And so, we've had to make those calls a couple times.
And it's a time commitment for our trade partners. We want them to be in that room discussing the project for 3-4 hours at a time. That's a huge time commitment on their part as well.
So we've estimated that we've done over 400 hours of pull planning sessions over the last several years. We have done 22 different process mapping sessions, which is equal to about 66 hours of process mapping internally. 3 different field leaders that are now project managers and superintendents. We've sent them through the Lean department to be Lean coaches.
Yeah.
And so that's given them some hands-on training to be leaders later on.
Yeah.
And we've been able to influence and be a part of 29 different project schedules. So we've invested a lot. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. But the payoff is so evident. And that's just a huge testament to you guys and your work, but also to the Lean process as a whole, that this is something that is really pushing the envelope of the construction process. And I think that's awesome.
On that, and I'll let Annette kind of talk to this more so than myself, but with all the work that we've done in identifying the constraints and looking at schedules and pull planning and developing and whatnot, we've been able to heavily influence the supply chain situation.
Yeah.
So
incorporating a supply chain into those schedules has been huge.
Yeah.
In recent years, we all know what has happened to supply chain, pandemic, economic slowdowns, recession talks, and even port of entry issues.
Yeah.
For a year we couldn't get any, ships through the port.
Yeah.
But by proactively tracking those high risk items right in our schedules, we're able to project those issues that come up.
Yeah.
And Journey uses an industry-leading software to help us track that. We've talked about that CPM software.
Yeah.
We're able to put those high-risk procurement items right in the schedule, link them to their construction activity, and that gives the teams visibility that says, well, my construction activity is supposed to start May 1. This item isn't going to make it.
Yeah.
What do we pivot? What do we do? Let's talk to the owner group, see what we can figure out as an alternative.
Yeah.
And so it just gives the whole team visibility on what's happening in that process.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's just such an important thing for everyone, for owners, for subcontractors, for Journey, to as accurately as possible predict those things and do the best you can. But again, I think Journey is on the cutting edge of that we are really leading the charge in the processes and the methods by which we are predicting those things and scheduling those things out and even modifying our process to accommodate those things. I've been on sites where they're like, yeah, we were supposed to have X piece of equipment here 2 months ago. And normally we would have ground to a halt until it arrived, but we've been able to shift things around and reprioritize and pivot, like you said. And now there's this space for this thing that's going to arrive someday, hopefully, and that's huge when you think of staying on track from a Journey perspective, but then also for our clients who we've said, hey, we're going to deliver this and we're going to do the best we can to bring this to you. So I think all of that combines to really highlight this aspect of bringing more than construction to our clients, our partners, our people. Lean and its processes is such a perfect example of that more that we bring, that we're not just going to build something the same way we always have because that's the way we've always done it, but we're constantly trying to improve and streamline, to eliminate waste, and that makes everyone better. It's not just a Journey thing. It's not just, we do this because it's going to save us money, but it saves owners money, it saves subcontractors money, it keeps subcontractors safe, it keeps the community safe, like all of those things, like you guys were saying, even the personal development of our people, all because of what Lean does. That's so cool to have that kind of an impact on not only our company, but the broader reach that we have.
So to my knowledge, we are the only GC that is actively utilizing it across the majority of our projects. Wow. In the region, at least.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring to see that. And the investment is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a small feat. It's not a small investment. We go to training every single year for multiple things.
Yeah.
I have certifications. Annette is going to be working on those this coming year as well. And so there's been a very heavy buy-in, if you will, from Journey and the leaders. And so everything's changed even since I've been here around that.
Yeah.
Aaron, you've been here for a long time. So you can probably see that. But, I will say that Aaron is the one who introduced it to Journey. It was something that he had researched and brought in initially. So so thanks for my job.
Yeah. I think it's really worked out well.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are out of time, but thank you for this great discussion and for joining us on the show. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Please remember to follow and share this podcast. That helps us and it helps you stay up to date on new episodes that come out. Journey's mission is to positively impact lives by building communities. So thank you for joining us in the discussion. Join us again next time as we continue to explore what it means to do more than construction. Thanks for listening.